So in this video, I want to rant a bit about should you build this company brand or should you build this personal brand in regards to content. I started this video challenge. You can still join until end of day Wednesday. It's called PR30. Basically, make 30 videos in 30 days on YouTube or any short form platform. Talk raw, just like this. If you pay $300, you get a weekly call with me every week for 4 weeks. It's great. Answer questions, get ideas. You have one more day to join if you want to pay for accountability and get access to me. In this group, someone asked a great question in the first call is she's building this nutrition training company and isn't sure how much she should put the focus on herself with her content versus the brand. And this is something that I personally debated for years, where I created content under this almost pseudonym called Behavior Hack, at Behavior Hack, which I didn't change until really about a year ago. May or June, I think, 2023, which is crazy to think about. And because I feel like my name has been Zach Pogrob on Instagram forever, but it hasn't. And for a long time, most people didn't know my name at all. When you want to grow an audience and you want to get followers, you want to actually keep yourself relatively simple in terms of you want someone to go to your page and be able to understand what you do and why they should follow you and what they get from following you. And this is why I tell people, especially when they start out, you should never be trying to grow multiple platforms at once, multiple platforms or multiple accounts. It's crazy how many people on Instagram are trying to grow 4 different Instagrams, one for fitness, one for coaching, one for cooking, one for like all these different things. And it's like, no, just do one. And even like they're trying to grow a podcast Instagram, they're trying to grow, no, just one. If you look at the biggest podcasters, they're just posting their reels under their name. And there's a reason for that. Media and content is all about compounding. So why are you going to go fuck up that compounding by putting things in different places? You don't want to make people put in more effort, spend more calories to go and figure out where to follow you. And so, like I said, it depends what you want to do. But in most cases, if you're between a personal brand and a project brand, what I'd recommend is to focus on the personal brand and just make it clear what the project and what the company is that you're building. A good example of this is Jack Butcher, Visualize Value. A lot of you probably have seen his work on Instagram or on Twitter. And Jack, if you don't know, he sold millions of dollars of courses about content creation and about monetizing online. And he also sold many millions of dollars of NFTs. And he did this specifically because he had a personal brand, in my opinion. And even he says it. He has a big Instagram with tons of followers, but a lot of people who only follow him there on Visualize Value don't know that he also has a Twitter under his name, where for years he's posted like these quick, short insights on just art and media and marketing. And they're incredible. And he says how almost all his course sales have come from Twitter and from that personal brand. There's that personal piece that is what sells. You hear people buy from people all the time. And I think if he had only built the Visualize Value brand and never showed his name or his face, he would have sold only a fraction of those courses. And so, like I said, it is, in my opinion, if you're doing media, people want to learn from people. And yet there are ways to still incorporate your brand while having a personal brand. For example, you could have a podcast, which podcasts usually aren't just someone's name. There's usually a brand. There's usually something there. Or you have a newsletter where a newsletter isn't usually someone's name. It's a brand. It's a project. So short form platforms, though, are usually the name. Usually it's Zach Pogrob on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok. And then on YouTube, sometimes it's a little different. Usually it's the person's name, but sometimes you could have a YouTube where it's only your podcast or it's like a specific channel. But in general, that's how I think of it. That's what I think you should do. I think if you can't decide, the answer is almost always do the personal brand and just plug your project in your bio, make it clear it's what you do. But don't go and try to build these two things at once, especially if you're starting out. I wouldn't do that until you are into the game and you've built a sizable audience. And so the way I describe it for my content and what made me make the decision is I am a writer, and I'm a writer at my core. I want to write books. And yeah, I could have a different username and be fine. Like someone who does that is like the holistic psychologist, Dr. Nicole LePera, best-selling author, has millions of followers. She's crushing it. It's not her real name or username, but to me, her name is still like very much out there. Her face is very much out there. And I realized that even I realized that for me, the behavior hack name didn't serve my brand anymore. It had nothing to do with obsession. It was just this name I picked years ago. I'd already been showing my face and showing my, like, I had a different profile picture with my face for a while, but it was just like, why am I doing this? Everything should just be one thing. My handle on all my accounts should just be Zach Pogrob. I still need to get it on like TikTok, I think, but I don't use TikTok that much. Having that on Twitter and on Instagram has been huge, I think, and it's given me so many new opportunities that I didn't have before. And so when I realized that, okay, I want to become an incredible writer and write books, it's like, okay, why am I making it more difficult for people to understand me? That's what it is. You have to realize you're competing, and there's only so many things that people can have in their brain. My friend, I brought him up yesterday, his video, John Fio, he has like Fio's number, where people can only really remember like 100 brands at a time. So why are you going to go and make people try to remember multiple things? No, just make them remember one thing. Someone who does this well is David Senra too, Founders Podcast. One thing, that's it. It's simple. He doesn't even really use his name much. It's really just like Founders Podcast. That's his at on Twitter, which I actually like for him, because he is so tied to this thing where he does nothing else. And that's a big reason he's had the ridiculous compounding success he has. If you do want more help here, DM me on Twitter or wherever, and I'll try to give my opinion, because I know it can be confusing. Like, what do I focus on? What do I build? How do I brand around? But the presentation is truly everything. So it is worth like realizing this before you go spend years trying to build this media. But the number one thing do not fucking do is do not try to, if you're starting out, do not try to build multiple social media accounts at once. I wouldn't even focus on multiple platforms at once. I would focus on at least one core medium, whether that's video or writing. That is truly what I would do. I didn't really get off Instagram for like 3 years. Like, yeah, I did Twitter, but my thing's a little different because all my stuff was writing. Basically kept the same medium, writing, for 5 years before I did anything new. And I think that is the reason I was able to compound the way I did, is I had so much data around this one thing that when I did go experiment with animations or video content like this, I was ready and I knew what worked and I knew what resonated, and then I could go take it and put it in these other mediums. That's what the best creators do. They have this core idea and they have so much knowledge about what ideas resonate that they can just go and fucking crush it in whatever new thing they start. And so, yeah, that's the video. Hope it was helpful. Talk to you later.